Can we rebrand networking? I
Yeah.
mean, it has this image of like stodgy like cocktail mixers with people, I don't know, with pleated chinos and like golf polo shirts tucked into their pants and a little sign that says my name is.
Little badge.
And it's just like so forced, like we're all here to get to know each other so we can do business together. Oh my God, that sounds terrible. And it is terrible. I think networking as a word is beyond redemption. We need to just have a new term. And I think it's community building, honestly.
Yeah.
It's like community building. It's building your tribe. That's what it is. It's finding and building your tribe.
Welcome to the Supergood podcast, conversations on what it takes to be great and what can go wrong. I'm your host, Cory Caprista. I'm very excited to announce our guest for today, Patrick Drake. He is a former unhappy lawyer turned co-founder and head chef of HelloFresh, a brand that some of you might be very familiar with. He is now onto his second company. He's the founder of Autonomy Foods that makes incredible adaptogenic smart lattes and smart matchas. And our conversation today is a really fun one. It's a wide-ranging conversation around entrepreneurship, fatherhood, public speaking, relationship building, all kinds of good things. I think you're going to really enjoy this conversation with Patrick Drake. So without further ado, here it is. You've been a person that I've definitely, I've looked to for a long time to, of what it looks like to live out loud, which was, I don't know if that was my word of the year this year or that was a word of the year another year, but one of my words of the year was live out loud. Mm-hmm. Or it was like a sub part of one of the words. And I was like, yeah, I want to do that. But I was also like, ooh, that's scary, and so this is sort of me finally getting to a place where like, okay, I've set the goal or the vision of it, but now I got to do the stuff that's scary to make that happen. So, yeah.
And I bet you found, just like we always do, they're like, now that we're here now, you're like, oh, geez, that wasn't such a big deal after all. It's the thinking about, it's the expectation that's the anticipation is the hardest part.
Isn't it?
When you're doing it, you're just like, oh, cool, I'm having a chat with my friend, or I'm having a chat with some person who's super interesting. This is like what I love doing.
Yeah. It's like, it's harder to resist it, like to live away from what you're called to do. I find, I'm finding right now in this moment of starting this, it's like, wow, running away from it and kind of denying it is a lot more draining and a lot harder. This feels more easy to just be yourself.
Yeah, to like damming up the water instead of letting it flow, way harder.
Yeah. That's a really good point. That just the visual of like trying to hold it,
Right.
Or like
plug. The water wants to fucking go. Like, why are we holding it back?
Well, so what's flowing for you? What's your water that's flowing for you right now these days?
Fatherhood and startuphood. The two newborns.
How is it doing those together?
Are we actually doing? Are we doing a podcast right now?
Yeah, we're doing it right now.
Oh, we're just like we just flowed straight into it. Oh my God,
you flowed straight in. Yeah.
Oh, okay, I'm down. Yeah, I mean, okay, let's go. How is it? The full spectrum of human emotion. I mean, it stretches the spectrum at either end as well. Like you're feeling emotions at an even more acute, extreme level than you were before these things happen. Fatherhood and startuphood, having a startup, they both are pushing the same buttons, and they're both these incredible, like heat-seeking missiles that find your weak points and exploit them and bring them to your attention. If we're not, it sounds grandiose, but if we're not on this earth to actually do that and to find those points and to face them head on, then what are we doing? Like, we're just treading water. So as much as I find those moments of challenge extremely hard sometimes, I know that that's what I'm here to do. It's like, here's the thing. When I think a lot of people on the outside looking in at a given entrepreneur or founder will look at them and think, they might look at me and think, geez, like Patrick has, what a great job that guy has. He gets up in the morning, like has a leisurely cup of his own coffee or matcha, you know, sets up a little Instagram shot, snaps it. That's the morning done. Then he heads off to, the Goop headquarters and makes a couple of matches for people, maybe goes down to the Aloe Yoga headquarters, does the same. And then he's just like kicking back for the rest of the day, put up his IG post and he's good to go. And they would be obviously missing the point, which is that your job as a founder is to deal with all of the freaking crazy challenges that come out of left field and just punch you in the gut every single day, and all the really mundane stuff too, you name it. I mean, you name it. Like, it's just like you're just doing every single thing, and I think it's about what this speaks to in terms of like your ability to process those hard things. It's a question of managing expectations. If you're starting a business and you go in with the expectation that you're going to be that person who just like does a couple of Instagram shots and has a little creative brainstorming session and you're going to be bitterly disappointed in the reality of what it's like. And it's also the same with fatherhood. It's exactly the same. If you go into your day, in fact, it's literally exactly the same. If you go into your day expecting you're going to wake up and have that leisurely coffee again as a father or a mum, and that you're going to have the morning routine that you used to have, you're going to be bitterly disappointed, because that's not how things go anymore. Things have changed. And so I'm just learning a lot, particularly in the last 11 months that our beautiful baby boy has been on this planet. In his physical form, and just learning a lot about setting my own expectations. And I understand now that kind of expectation is the enemy of contentment. If you have a locked-in expectation that your day is going to go a certain way, or that whatever is going to go a certain way, and it doesn't quite go that way, then you're setting yourself up for failure. But if you can be fluid and you can just move with whatever is happening in the moment with the energy, then, you're just setting yourself up way better. And I think that, as I say, it really speaks to fatherhood. It speaks to having a startup as well. So those are the things that I'm learning at the moment.
Yeah, you strike me as, when I'm around you, as someone who, as a father, I've noticed this really strongly, that you have such a positive approach to being a father, and like this sort of calm aura with your family. And you also, as someone who chose to be a founder a second time, to go back to entrepreneurship, hearing that you keep your expectations low as a way of being able to keep going and to approach it makes a lot of sense. I'm wondering if you're not holding expectations, do you have a certain mindset or approach or mantra that you do hold or look at it with, other than just going with the flow? Because you also obviously have a vision for what you want to do with autonomy and how you want to be a father. So what are you holding on to if you're not holding expectation?
Is it, I think there's that saying, strong opinions loosely held, or something like that. That's what comes to mind right now. It's like strong intentions. And I'll say that my expectations, they're not low expectations, but they're just more realistic expectations. They're pragmatic expectations. They are expectations based on we have this idealized idea of what a certain thing is, but I'm just like really grounding into the reality of things, and that just makes everything just far more like less friction. And I guess every day it's about presence. I literally Angel came into my office, my wife Angel, who's obviously a dear friend and will probably be on this podcast soon, I imagine. She came into my office about an hour ago, and she was talking about gratitude, and she had this fantastic couple of pages from a book that she was reading, and she read it out to me, and so much of what she was reading was about gratitude not being this thing that is like reactive to something that just happened and you're like, oh, somebody gave me this thing and I'm really grateful for it. It's like, it's gratitude for just like the fact of being, the fact of like these millions of biological processes going on in our body in perfect synchrony that allow us to take our next breath and be on this earth and appreciate everything around us and take in every single day, which is just a gift. And so it's about presence. And I think that I'm learning that presence is both something that is a salve in moments of challenge, just saying, I'm meant to be here right now. This is what I'm meant to be doing. You know, there are times, of course, when I'm with our son and there's that old part of me, which is just achieve, 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 must get things done, to-do lists, like I thrive on progress, that is sitting there thinking, I need to be getting on with my work right now. And then I just remember one of the common threads, in fact, that I see in the story of the most prolific founders of our entire history. One of the most common threads, is particularly since they're writing their biographies, when they're closing out their careers and coming sometimes towards the end of their lives, is that they wish they had spent more time being present, particularly with family. And I'm just like, no, I'm meant to be here right now. This is the most important thing I could be doing, because when I get to my deathbed, I want to look back and know that I did that, and that I had those moments, I had those giggles and all those things. So I think that presence is something I hold, and it, as I say, it can be a salve in moments of challenge. But I also think that presence is something that is incredibly powerful as a tool. Something that I've seen happen again and again. I'm going to talk about Summit now, and actually, this is a great, because
let's go.
Yeah, this is you know what I'm about to talk about, because we experience this together. There is something crazy that can happen when you're at these big events where there's lots of people in the room and you're all somewhat like-minded. I mean, Summit is this gathering of incredibly creative, dynamic, entrepreneurial type people. And I noticed this phenomenon that would come up each time I went, that I would suddenly just feel like there was so much synchronicity happening. Like I was meeting exactly the person I was meant to meet, and then I was able to introduce them to this other person, and it was like this perfect partnership that they could create. And there was so much kind of like of this magic happening around me that it almost felt like magic confetti cannons coming out of my hands, which I wouldn't admit to too many people publicly, though clearly I'm doing that now. But I feel like there's something happening there. I cannot describe it. And the first few times it happened, I thought, oh, this is just that was cool. Don't know what that was all about. But then I realized it was a repeatable phenomenon. And what was it that was creating this phenomenon where I was in these rooms of people and everything was just unfolding in a way that I couldn't even imagine. The magic was happening. I was meeting the right people at the right time and having the most incredible conversations. And the key ingredient, the common thread, was presence again. So I said to myself, okay, I think the thing that I need to focus on is that when I'm in front of a person, I will give them my 100% attention. And it doesn't matter if they're the CEO or the investor or the big deal person or the person that's making a coffee for me or the person I just happen to sit down on a bench next to. I know nothing about them. It doesn't matter who they are. I'll give them my 100% attention. I won't be looking over their shoulder because I'm thinking, oh, I should be talking to that person, or I won't be like drifting off thinking I should be going to that talk. I'll give them my attention and I will divine why I'm having this conversation with them. I'll just let this conversation reach its completion and I won't try and bring it to a close prematurely, and then I'll move on. And when I did that, that was when the magic unlocked, because what I realized was that I might be talking to somebody in the old like part of me, a former version of myself would be thinking, oh, I shouldn't be wasting my time here. I need to be going and trying to find that other person I want to talk to. And I would stay completely present. And, it might just be because I had a really nice conversation, but I leave that conversation and then I go to the water cooler and I happen to then just be standing next to the exact person that I could not even have dreamed that I'd be standing next to them and have their 100% attention. I'm like, oh, that's the reason why I had that previous conversation. It was to put me on this particular path. So again, presence is a salve, but presence is a tool as well. It's a tool that can create so much magic in our lives. So that's what I really am holding a lot of right now.
I've seen you with those confetti cannons, the magic confetti cannon hands. At Summit was one example. I've seen you like that. I've seen you like that in other situations. And it's funny that you went there. One of the things about you that I know and that people I think would find interesting or get a lot of value out of it is your relationship building or networking approach. And networking is kind of a dirty word. It's such like a, I don't know, transactional term for a lot of people. And I was curious about getting into your process for that. And it's that the anchor is something so fundamental. But it sounds like one of the reasons it works for you is how radical you give your presence and the not rushing and just moving on when it feels right. So there's like a deep listening also to the moment that's happening. And I'm wondering, as you make that, you feel like you're in the listening or the lockstep. What is the step after that? So if you're in flow with the conversation, you're being present, you're divining why you should be talking to that person. What's the next step? What do you do?
Yeah, can we rebrand networking? I mean,
Yeah.
it has this image of like stodgy like cocktail mixers with people, I don't know, with like, I don't know, pleated chinos and like golf like polo shirts tucked into their pants and a little sign that says my name is,
Little badge.
and it's just like so forced. Oh, like we're all here to get to know each other so we can do business together. Oh my God, that sounds terrible. And it is terrible. And it's maybe we just discard. I think networking as a word is beyond redemption. We need to just have a new term. And I think it's community building, honestly.
Yeah.
It's like community building. It's building your tribe. That's what it is. It's finding and building your tribe. And I think that the next step, once you're having, I think that's the point. It's like you're in the conversation with somebody, and this is the way my mind works. I'm standing there, I'm having a conversation with you, and on a surface level, on a like front of mind level, we're having a conversation about whatever we're having a conversation about. But for me, in the back of my mind, it's whirring, and I'm flicking through my internal Rolodex, and I'm listening to what you're saying really carefully, and I'm thinking, who can I introduce you to that's going to take the thing that you're talking about and be able to help you make it better? Like, who can I connect you to? And it's just my default mode of doing things. And I do it just because it's fun. It's like a game to me. It's like a puzzle to be solved. And I think that's what I do. Because my next step is then, let's swap details. I want to introduce you to this person. I think you two are going to have bare minimum an amazing conversation, but I think you might be able to create some kind of magic together as well. And so I think that's what it is to me. It's always creating value. It's even when I'm pitching something to somebody, I'm always talking to them about like what I want to be able to do for them, how I can help them. There's never ever a, can you do this for me? Or this is what I want. Except to say that there are some times when I'll do that. There might be an occasion where it's not so much a networking thing as it is I'm in front of a person and I think this person could literally change the course of my life by snapping their fingers, and I've probably only got 30 seconds of their time. So I just need to cut to the chase. And I've had that before too. Not like, that's probably like the very, 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 very infinitesimally small proportion of those conversations. But one good example, as you know, I used to be an attorney. I wanted to be a chef. I hear that the best chef in the world, Heston Blumenthal at the time, this was in 2010, I think it was going to pick up Chef of the Year award at the GQ Awards in London. So I got into the GQ Awards with the express intention of going up and pitching him on the fact that I wanted to be a chef and somehow wanted him to give me a helping hand. He comes down, with his award. The entire room, hundreds of people, just want to come and talk to him. I pick my moment. I jump in front of him. I actually thought, okay, you've got to have a hook here. I've got to like get his attention. So I said, "Oh my God, I can't believe you're here, Heston. I just wrote an article about you." That was a very strategically, created opening line, because he's clearly thinking, "What do you mean you can't believe I'm here? I'm Heston Blumenthal. I just won the award. And who are you and why are you writing about me?" And it was true, except it wasn't exactly an article. It was a blog post. And I mean, blog post, article, it's a body of writing.
That's right.
Just like one has slightly less distribution than the other. But it was true. And I caught his attention and I said, "Listen, what I was writing about was the fact that you had this incredible, you've had this incredible influence on me as a person. I really admire the way that you have repositioned the perception of British cuisine abroad." And what I'm doing there is I'm complimenting him too. Again, it's not untrue. It's not inauthentic. That is actually what I felt. But I was complimenting him. And again, you've got their attention. Now you're opening them up. They're like, "Oh, okay, that feels good. Thanks." And then I went in with, "Listen, this is what I've wanted to do for many, many years. Become a chef. This is what I'm doing right now to make that dream of mine come true. I am making various sacrifices. I'm working super, super hard. If I could peel potatoes for free in your kitchen, it would be the greatest honor of my life." And just like looking him in the eye, and he's clearly thinking, "You poor, poor boy, I'm going to make that dream come true." And sure enough, he did. He said, "Here's my email address. Send me an email. I'm going to get my assistant to organize this for you." A week later, she writes back to me and says, "Heston's organized everything for you. You're going to come to his restaurant, the best restaurant in the world at the time, the Fat Duck. And you're going to spend the morning in the laboratory where we develop our recipes. You're going to spend the afternoon in the server's kitchen when they make every one of the 15 courses of the tasting menu. The chef who finishes the dish will take you aside, having made an extra portion. You will try it, and they will talk to you about how they made the dish. And at the end of the day, the other chefs, I'm helping them clean down the kitchen. There are 48 chefs for 42 diners. And they say, "Listen, Patrick, it's been great having you here, but we're all just wondering, like, why the hell are you here? Like, who are you?" I'm like, "What do you mean? Isn't this normal? Don't people come hang out in the kitchen?" And they're like, no one ever comes and hangs out in the kitchen. Everything we do here is top secret. Like, we're just really trying to understand what it is you said to him." And the point is, I don't think it's, I mean, yeah, there's like the what I said and how I said it. And there was that kind of like strategy, if you will, although it wasn't actually a conscious strategy. It's just the way the conversation flowed. And I guess it's just the way I've kind of automatically trained myself to have a conversation like that. But it was the way in which I said it. And I think what the dynamic that was happening there, which anybody could repeat, is that you're in front of a person and you're saying to them, "Listen, this is my dream, and you could make my dream happen, or you could get me one step closer to my dream by literally snapping your fingers. How would that feel to you?" And that person's thinking, "Wow, that would feel really amazing, because I'm just going to snap my fingers and I'm going to change this person's life. Yeah, that's a good deal. That's a really good deal. I'll do that." And so I don't think I've ever been in a situation where I've asked that kind of question of somebody who could snap their fingers and they've said no. Because I believe that they look at you, and quite aside from that agreement you're going into where they're going to get to do something really amazing for very minimal effort, I believe, because I know this for myself, when I'm in that dynamic with somebody I can help, that they see in front of them a former version of themselves and they think, wow, you know what? I really wish someone could have given me a helping hand when I was in this position, and I'm going to do that now. And so I think that's what's going on there. And so, as I say, I think this is an entirely replicable approach to those kinds of conversations.
That's amazing. I know you as someone, well, I'm biased because I obviously am your friend, but I also observe you. I get a chance to observe you up close. And I think you have multiple sort of world-class or elite skills. One of them is community building, which is the word we're going to use instead of networking. The other one is storytelling, right? Part of your background is, I don't know if you call yourself a YouTube content creator, if you would call it a YouTube channel that you had before that was as big of a thing. We'll maybe get into that a little more later. But in that moment, what I'm seeing is that you're putting together like a lot of your trained skills or what you've learned into a condensed moment. And so I just want to like slow that down a bit on a few things. Well, one, the compliment you gave was more of a genuine appreciation in the sort of in the way that How to Win Friends and Influence People talks about that, where it wasn't just, hey, I think you're great, which is how a lot of people would give a compliment. It was like a very specific appreciation that was a compliment, but it was really true, it was really genuine, and it was more detailed or specific, which would make it land. So that's something that I think a lot of people can get better at, is how they give appreciations, like the genuine appreciation. But even before that, are you planning that out? Because I know as a storyteller, I've seen you give like a TED Talk style, really prepared, where every sentence, every moment is dialed in second by second, minute by minute. But I've also watched you improvise amazing speeches or communications. So you have kind of this balance of being able to prepare really, really tightly and be really prepared, and also not be too tied and be able to be really improvisational. And that sounded like a moment that I don't know how much preparation went in, but I can imagine a lot of preparation went in. So if you could like break that down, like how it was for you going into that moment and then how it was in the moment, and if anything shifted for you.
I think it's one of these things where if the subject matter is something that you've been living and breathing every single day for the longest time, then that's your preparation. You don't need to memorize a speech, because it just flows. And I guess there are those in that kind of dynamic where you're going up to somebody and you're hoping for a particular result. There is a structure to it. There's like, first of all, I need to get that person's attention. Second off, I need to hold their attention and bring their guard down, show that I'm not some threat, some autograph hunter or worse. I'm not asking for anything. I'm not trying to extract. I'm trying to add value. Like my value that I was adding there was like, I want to come and work for you for free. I want to peel potatoes. I want to do the crappiest jobs in your kitchen, and I would love it.
Yeah.
Like he's like, this is amazing. Yeah. And then it's closing. It's like, keep it short and sweet. And then at the end, it's like, make your request, call to action, done. And so like there's that loose structure of that particular kind of interaction. There are so many types of interaction. We're just talking about the kind of one where you're hoping like, oh, maybe this person could like really help propel me towards the thing that I'm dreaming of doing. And then the rest of it, because you've been living and breathing it, I mean, if this is truly something that is your passion and you're hoping that this person can help propel you forwards, then, the words just come to you. And I think the key thing, which is exactly what happened that night, was I saw him coming towards me, and in my mind, I'm like, go, 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 go. Just like start walking towards him. Don't even think about it. Because if you start thinking about it, you are absolutely going to talk yourself out of it, and you're going to bottle this. You're just going to, which is an English phrase, bottle it. I don't know if that's an American phrase, but you're going to chicken out. And I think that's key too. It's just like act on impulse, like see the gap and go for it. It's like one of our other friends, Annalise. She said this to me. She's like she's like one of Charlie's angels. She's like this badass, beautiful, daredevil, skydiving, helicopter piloting, awesome human being. And she said to me about skydiving, she said, I give myself a countdown from 3 to 1. And on 1, once I started the countdown, I'm locked in. On 1, I'm jumping. And it's an automatic override. So that's it. You know, if you're in a situation and you're feeling a little nervous, give yourself a countdown, or just some kind of trigger that says, I'm walking towards the thing that I'm really afraid of right now. And I think that's key. Cause then you're in front of them and then it just flows. Or maybe you kind of stutter a bit and what have you, but you just got to like get in front and you just got to go for it. And like you say, I think there's two different kinds of ways in which I see storytelling too, or like the ability to storytell. When I co-founded HelloFresh in the UK, I found that I was doing more and more public speeches or appearances on the news or whatever it was. And I was petrified of public speaking. I guess I was petrified for the same reason that most people are, which is the fear of being judged and not being good enough and all that kind of stuff. And I realized I've just got to beat this out of myself, because there's no way I'm going to be doing less and less of this kind of thing. And so I actually read a book which is really, really helpful, which is called Talk Like TED. And I think the name of the guy, his second name might have been like one of his names is Carnegie or something. But an amazing book. It broke down something like he watched the 500 most popular TED Talks and broke down how the person had created their TED Talk, all of the elements that went into it. And of course, there are various different things. One of them was actually practice. Some people have practiced their TED Talk literally hundreds of times. So I don't know if you've seen that talk that I did at Summit. I did a talk at Summit, and it was about my kind of. The title of the talk was "How I Learned the Hard Way."
Yeah, this is the one I was talking about. That was extremely polished. Yeah,
yeah, and it had to be exactly 5 minutes. It was actually like they would ring some kind of bell or like get some kind of crook and pull you off stage if you go longer. So it had to be perfectly. Around. Yeah, they were not messing around. It had to be perfectly timed. I did practice. I said that speech out at least 100 times out loud before I got on that stage. And so my job on stage was not to do. My job on stage was actually to make it come across like it wasn't memorized, and to put pauses in and inflection in the right places. And I think that for me at least, that nothing beats fear like practice. And so that was the way that I dealt with that situation, because it felt like high stakes to me. It was like a big audience and what have you. But then, as I say, there are those other types of talk where you just flow, and it's just based on your passion and your experience. I'll say this, and I was going to say this to you right at the top of this podcast. I think, like, as a person, like being a podcast host or as a person making a speech on stage, the thing that I realized was that doing speeches to an audience used to make me really nervous, because also I felt like it was about a speech, felt like it was kind of about me. I didn't necessarily know that what I was talking about was relevant to the audience, because I wasn't interacting with the audience. I felt like I was performing to the audience, and I was giving a speech. And so my ego was so involved in that, wanting to prove that I can do it really, really well. And that would get me super nervous, versus if I was doing a Q&A on stage and audience was firing questions at me, my ego, me, was taken out of the picture, because actually it was all about them. And it's so fascinating, the shift, because I'm so much more eloquent in Q&A than I am in a speech, because I'm so relaxed and I just completely get into a flow. And the reason why is because I'm in service to the audience. And so shifting my mindset from performative to a service-based mindset has made a really big difference in my ability to talk to people. And I would just highly recommend that as a mind shift for anyone who gets nervous about talking is remember it's not about you.
Yeah, first of all, your level of obsessive preparation is a level that a lot of people, not just because I don't want to just skip over that. A lot of people, when they go to prep, they might write out bullet points or rehearse it. Maybe they would practice it 1 time, 2 times, 5 times. But legitimately being like, I did this 100 times, that's a step change jump in preparation, which really changes your relationship with what you're saying. So first of all, like that's something that I see you bring to your like autonomy now as a founder, right? Which I want to get to in a minute. But when we talk about communication, the first principle is it's audience focused, audience focused, audience focused, right? And even with Heston Blumenthal, right? It sounds like you did do a fair amount you wanted to meet him, you wanted to talk to him, you did kind of prepare your hook. Maybe, okay, what's the vision I'm going to share about what I want? What is my then ask? And then making sure I keep it short. So it sounds like that was prepared, right? Was that prepared?
Yeah, that was definitely a structure.
Mm-hmm. But the preparation was also really focused on what is he going to be experiencing in this moment when I come up to him out of the blue. He doesn't know me from anyone. Here's how other people might come up to him. How do I make this as easy on him to receive me and say yes as possible? So even that preparation, which is about something that you want, was thinking about his experience.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Just, I think you just said it, like in any communication, if you got to sit yourself in the position of the person in front of you, and you've got to and what does that speak to? It speaks to another like super essential skill that is some people may have it innately. I believe they do actually, but I think anyone else can really train into themselves, which is attunement. Now, I feel like we talk about attunement a lot in our community. Like we have conversations, oh, that person's so unattuned.
So what does it mean? What does that word mean for people that haven't heard that word? It's a really important word. What does it mean to you?
Attunement just means read the fucking room.
Yeah.
Like, like understand that you've got to modulate your tone and what you're saying, what you're talking about, what you're asking for or not asking for according to the circumstances that are in front of you. And if you can attune yourself, if you can get on the level with the person who's in front of you, or the person or persons, then of course that's going to give you a far better chance of creating rapport and then flowing into a conversation which is an enjoyable, productive, or whatever, like a positive experience.
Yeah, and on the note around being in service to the audience, right? Reading the room. First of all, there can be a lot going on in the room. So in terms of anchoring to your audience, I think you're giving such great guidance on that. What I've seen is some people are so focused on them and their own fear or their own performance, their own ego of being judged or looking good or getting it done, that they are not at all reading the room. So then the other thing I see is you're reading the room, but you get lost in the room and you forget that you have to actually lead as the person communicating or sharing, right? So it's like this holding of your job, which is to be prepared and to deliver, but in service of them. So there's sort of this holding both. Yeah, something came up for you there. I want to hear it.
No, I think you're so right. And honestly, I find it ironic that I'm the one who's talking about how to speak in public when this is like literally your freaking genius. Like this is what you do, like in front of like the biggest companies and the biggest executives in the world. So it's like I'm obviously I'm preaching to the choir and really should be taking notes from you. And you're right. Like you are also, well, you're a servant leader. That's what you are, isn't it? Like it's the two things. Hey, there's this amazing book that I read that a friend of ours, Antonio Gracias, actually, he recommended to me, and it was about the greatest sports dynasties of all time. And this guy, he did this extensive piece of research. He came up with the greatest like sports dynasties and sports teams of all time in all sports. Got it down to 100, and then he dissected like the reasons why they were the greatest sports teams in the world. Now, you might imagine that the greatest sports teams in the world were that way because they had the most funding, or they had, which would enable them to have the best training and the star players and what have you. You might imagine it was because of the captain and like their particular prowess. Actually, what it came down to was it wasn't it, and actually saying that like that captain was like the best in the world and just like dragged their team through to victory. And it actually wasn't even that. It was that they had the most incredible captain, but his or her characteristics weren't that they were like the strongest character and the greatest leader. It was that they were a servant leader. He called them like the water carrying leader. It was the person who actually just moved obstacles out of the way for other people so that they could do their best work. He ironically didn't even include the Chicago Bulls under Michael Jordan in the list because he said that Michael Jordan, by his like criteria, was like too ego driven, and so he was looking at other people. I forget the names of them now, and it's just worth
in basketball. You'd think about like a Tim Duncan or a Steph Curry who's playing now as those kinds of players.
Okay. Yeah, just a person who actually didn't want to be in the limelight. They didn't want to be the person scoring the goal. They just wanted to enable other people to do that. So yeah, like going back to what you're saying, it's this beautiful interplay between like leadership and like and yeah, working with the people that are in front of you.
Well, it's probably about time I actually introduced Patrick Drake. So we have Patrick Drake, who is one of my dear friends. And I know him personally as the guy you want to be stuck next to in the kitchen at a party having a deep conversation. That's like
that's where you'll find me.
That's right, always.
Always in the kitchen.
Which is related to the story with Heston Blumenthal, but also, being a co-founder and the head chef of HelloFresh, which obviously HelloFresh has become this monster that's sort of dominated the market. And so it's a really well-known name, and that was a big chapter of your life, but now founder of Autonomy Foods. And so what I would know Autonomy Foods as is my favorite matcha latte that I get to have just squeeze out of a sachet, or a smart creamer, or a smart latte. They're truly amazing. And so, I now getting to have experienced your product, understand maybe the vision you had when you first started, but what made you want to be a second-time founder, right? Because like you said, you get punched in the mouth every day, humbled. Every problem you solve leads to another. So what made you want to do it a second time?
Like the superficial answer, or the more surface level answer, which is still important and I will get to, is going to be around like why there was a need for the product. But the real of why I wanted to go into this a second time at the ground floor was because HelloFresh was the most incredible chapter. I was so fortunate to be in the right time and the right place and have the right desire, and have been working already very hard before this concept even came along. And it was just like, luck is when opportunity meets preparation. But the truth of the matter is that there were many of us. We started off in London with about 7 people, maybe 8. And then we also started in 4 other countries at the same time. Amsterdam, France, Germany, Australia. We sent a team out to America 6 months later to open the New York and American office. But there were just many people. And so there's something in me that it's a story I tell myself. It's not very helpful, honestly, but it's like, it's really unhelpful, because I say, unless I've done everything myself, it doesn't count. And there's a light and a dark side to that, which is that I'm very, very capable and I can do a broad sweep of things. Some things I'm obviously terrible at, but there's like a pretty broad sweep of things I can do and will do happily, and I'll work super, super hard to make sure that they're done to a really high standard. But it's also a limiting factor for me because I have real trust issues around, trusting other people to do the work. When I do find a person who can, oh my God, I embrace them. It's like there's this Derek Sivers talk on TED Talks. It's called How to Create a Movement in 3 minutes. And it talks about it's this amazing example. I'm going on a tangent, but I'll bring it back. There's this guy dancing in the middle of a field at a festival. He's dancing completely by himself. He looks like a total loon. And he's just rocking out. He's like marching to the beat of his own drum. And then along comes one other person who starts dancing all kind of crazy with him. And the lone nut suddenly has his first follower. And Derek, and what the lone nut does is he embraces him and he hugs him, and they hug, and then they start dancing again. And Derek Sivers says, as he's narrating this, he's like, that's what happens. Like when you're this lone nut and the first person comes along and they kind of give you some kind of like bring some kind of credibility to your nuttiness, you have to embrace them. And then inevitably, the next person comes and the next person. Anyway, by the end of this 3-minute video, the entire field is filled with people dancing like crazy, and that's how to
I've
create
seen this video. It's amazing. I think it's up at the Gorge in Seattle at that venue, but it's an iconic video of this guy, and kind of the antithesis of what in the sort of everything's being recorded culture, people kind of can sometimes shrink and not want to express themselves because they're worried about being ridiculed. And this guy was just letting it fly, and it became sort of this totem or this flag to fly for just letting it out, and how people will embrace you.
Yeah, totally. And I mean, back to the point. I do find it difficult to let go of things in the business. But when I find someone who's better than me, it's just the most magical feeling, and I really do embrace them. But yeah, that's why I wanted to go back to the beginning again. It's just a need to prove myself, really. Like that's the real. And then with that, and here's the thing. The motivations of the greatest founders of our time, I don't count myself amongst them, but I certainly love studying them. And you just see that the motivations, then they're not, the deep down what's going on deep inside motivation, that there can be this desire for creating something altruistic and making the world a better place, but the thing that's the driver that really gives you the grit is often something that's a little darker. It's about proving yourself. One of the things that Francis Ford Coppola said was that the story of the father plays itself out in the son. The story of the father is embedded in the son, and like I would imagine. I don't need to imagine. I know, like a lot of male founders, particularly, there's some stuff around their dad there, wanting to prove them wrong, or prove the naysayers wrong, prove the doubters wrong. And I definitely have my own extremely healthy dose of that inside me. And again, it can be a really good thing, when the chips are down. I will really, really dig in. And at a certain point, you might want to let go of that too.
Well, one of our CEO friends is also a VC, a venture capitalist. I asked him, what do you look for in founders? What anything that you look for if you're going to invest in a founder or CEO? And he goes, well, they're all a little fucking crazy. They all have a chip on their shoulder of some type. And another thing that that's been kind of going around is this idea of if you are that CEO type, that founder type, with some sort of chip that's driving you, some people are a little bit afraid of, messing with that too much. Psychedelics, therapizing it, looking into to healing it too much, because if you heal it, maybe then you won't have that drive and then you won't achieve. And so what I hear from you is sort of this interesting peaceful awareness, but you sounds like you haven't lost that drive. Even maybe know where the chip is from, and you've done some work, and maybe it doesn't have the same hold on you. It also hasn't gone away completely. That's a very interesting. I don't know if you have anything to say on that, but it seems like an interesting dynamic you have with that.
I got to this point where it was towards the end of my time at HelloFresh where I said to Angel, the last chapter, the HelloFresh chapter, was like, it's kind of a vulnerable share, but it's like it was like about my dad, like it was about proving him wrong. And I said, so the next chapter's for me, and I think that that's the shift that I've been able to make, is that like the internal driver. I mean, I'm still super hard on myself and super driven, but it's shifted somewhat now. Like the next chapter is for me. It's not so much about proving myself to other people. So it's a little more of a healthy motivation.
I love that. Well, when you have a business, you're either building stuff or you're selling stuff. And in the case of being a early stage founder of a company that's growing, you're going to probably be building stuff and selling stuff at the same time.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Something you said about this, the VC saying that people are nuts. I know another guy, well, we both know a guy, I won't mention his name, but he's one of the most successful people in the world, frankly. And he said to me, when he's investing in a company, he looks for two things in the founder: that they've got daddy issues and that they're slightly on the spectrum.
That's his investment thesis.
That's his investment. And it might not be like, I don't know, popular opinion, but let's think about that. Like, yeah. I think it wouldn't take too much digging into a couple of biographies to realize that some of the most successful people on the planet have exactly those qualities about them.
I love that. It's also we're really giving out free advice here for people's investment portfolios.
Well, I was going to ask you people the inside track.
I know we should have kept that edge for ourselves. What I wanted to ask you about your relationship as a product-oriented founder, because I've watched you with Autonomy from the very early stages of the product and the company. And I've watched you sort of obsessively iterate and keep tinkering and keep changing. And someone described great product managers or great product leaders. I mean, a lot of like founders are one of them as the product person, is that they're like obsessive artists where like they keep working the painting or the canvas until it's done. And they're really obsessed in that way. And I've seen you, I don't know what's behind that for you or how you experience it, but I've watched someone, it's really impressive from the outside watching you iterate, from the difference between using a wand to blend the drink versus the new kind of blending carafe you're doing as an example. So just how do you think about yourself as a product person and what it takes to be great and be successful as a sort of a product manager when you're playing that role for Autonomy?
Yeah, David Ogilvy, like this legend in the advertising world, one of the greatest advertisers in history. He would have this advice to people that were starting at his firm. He would say that when you're working with a new client, let's say that they're an oil company, you need to know as much about their business as possible. So you should be like going down to the gas station and watching people put the gas in their cars and talking to people and pulling up geological surveys around like drilling for oil, and like just know the industry inside out, upside down. And he says, when you do that, after a few years, you'll know more than your boss, and then you'll replace your boss. And I think that to me is what product development is all about. You take your best guess at what you think the market needs based on some pretty educated assumptions, where you're like, I've seen this in my own life. That was autonomy for me. I'm going out every day, dutifully buying my oat milk latte, drinking that stuff like it's the elixir vitae, believing everything they said. Oh, wow, no cow, they said. this is the best thing for you. And I didn't even want to look at the back of the carton because I didn't want to burst my bubble. I'm like, this stuff tastes amazing, and they're telling me it's health food. I'm not gonna ruffle any feathers. I'm not gonna question anything because, like, I love that narrative. But the truth was, I was feeling like shit, and it was spiking my blood sugar. Like an hour and a half later, I'm like, oh my God, I need another cup of coffee. And it's not because I'm like inherently running low on energy. It's because I've come off that sugar spike that was caused by this like crappy plant-based milk. So I start making my own creamer with like healthy fats and adaptogenic mushrooms and L-theanine and MCT oil, putting it in my coffee, blending it, super delicious. I will not compromise on flavor for the sake of health. Like both of those things have to be absolutely lined up. And then eventually, I've got friends coming over and they're drinking it every day, and they're saying, Patrick coffee really should be a thing. Like we shouldn't have to come to your house every morning to have it. Like, why don't you make this a product? And I'm like, okay, yeah, all right, I guess. And I did. And that was my kind of base package of like experience and assumptions. I'm like, there are people like me, and they may not even know that they want an alternative to oat milk yet, and to almond milk with sugar and seed oils and what have you in it, because they might not have realized yet what I was fortunate enough to realize a few months back, that actually this stuff's crap. But there's a market for this. There's a market. So you start with that assumption, you make the product, you do the best you can, and hey, this is the point. Done is better than perfect. We know this. People say, oh, I'm a perfectionist. You're fucking procrastinating. You're just avoiding doing it because you're afraid that if you put it out in the world, people are going to destroy you. They're going to shred you. The truth is, no one gives a fuck. Like, no one cares about you or what you're doing because they're so caught up in their own world. They have not got the capacity to think about you at all and what you're doing. So put that aside. Put aside the need for perfectionism, which is simply procrastination. Just like get something out there, and then it's in the world, and then you're off to the races. And then it's just about, again, observation. I've served thousands of cups of autonomy. I've watched people make thousands of cups. I've watched people butcher making thousands of cups. And sometimes I'm just like, oh my God, no, what are you doing? How are you doing that? Like, I thought this was so intuitive. And it obviously wasn't intuitive whatsoever. And so you just then take that live feedback and you're just constantly rolling it into the product and chipping away, and just like smoothing that piece of marble until it's perfect, which is what, people would call pivoting, I suppose. But pivot is probably feels like too much of a sharp angle to me. It's more like, it's flowing. You're flowing with this constant live feedback. And that in it is something that requires an interesting combination of both vision and humility. Mm-hmm. You've got to have this like vision of what the product is meant to be. And sometimes you just may inherently know inside you that if people don't necessarily realize this is something they need, but I know that it is something they need. Like, what did Henry Ford say? If I'd asked people what they wanted, they would have said a faster horse. And so, like in our case, we've got to hold to the vision that we know to be true, even when, we get feedback from people saying, oh no, this is just crap, I don't need this. But at the same time, we have to have the humility to really listen to what they're saying and actually pick out the pieces of feedback which are really, really useful and justified. And then in doing that, that's how we hone the product.
Yeah, it's like if you didn't have the vision, you might not have the balls or like the stick-to-itness, the commitment to actually be a founder, right? You have to start being a little stubborn and have that vision. But if you never listen, then you're not iterating. You're not making it any better, right? So that's a really interesting, combo that you have to bring together. It also sounds like you really enjoy the process of playing with the clay or like playing with the puzzle. Like it feels like you treat it a bit like a game.
I do.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's fun because, you know, when the jigsaw pieces slot together, you're just like, that just
There it
feels really
is.
good. There it is. Just like there's really something about that. It's just like, you know, when that tennis ball just comes perfectly off the sweet spot of the racket,
Yeah.
or the golf ball comes perfectly off the sweet spot of the club. It's just like this, like feeling like, oh, I just really got everything lined up, and that just feels so satisfying.
Yeah. So it's like focusing on that vision of when it is lined up versus being so obsessed with everything that's not working, right? It's just keep orienting towards getting it lined up. Okay. So then the other side of the thing is selling things. And in this day and age, a lot of that comes down to content, right? Content is king, has been around for a long time, but that's where, this competition for attention, there's influencer marketing that came through, but you started doing content, working with video and YouTube and content, maybe before it was as big as it is now. And I'm wondering how you just maybe give us a little bit of the background on that, but then bridging that to, well, how do you look at content now in 2025 in this day and age, and especially content for a brand? Because most people everyone is sort of their own brand these days, whether you have a company like Autonomy, maybe you have a coaching business, maybe you're a DJ, whatever it is, you're trying to get something out to people that you might be selling. And so I think I'd be really interested in what your view of content these days is, but also how you apply that approach for a brand to make people care.
Yeah, I mean, my content journey was that, you know, in 2008, I was still a finance attorney. I wanted to be a chef. Specifically, I was looking at Jamie Oliver thinking, you look like you're having a pretty good time. I want to be a TV chef. That's what I want to be.
Yeah.
And so I wrote down on the top of a piece of paper, by this date, I want to have my own TV show. I want to be living in America, and I want to be working in food for the rest of my life. And then underneath that, I wrote the small steps I would need to take to even get a shot at the top goal. Like, again, luck is when opportunity meets preparation. One of the steps was start a channel on this new thing called YouTube, and start making cooking videos of myself in the kitchen, and learn how to edit them as well, of course, and just get used to that process. So I started making videos, and then in 2011, got an email randomly from a girl that said, "Do you want to be in a TV show?" And I said, "Let's talk." I talked to her that evening. She said, "I want to do a TV show in Italy, 13 episodes, and I want you to be the chef. What do you think?" And I said, "Sounds great. What do I need to do?" And she said, "The casting's tomorrow in Rome." I said, "I'll see you in Rome tomorrow morning." So I got on a flight, went to Rome, got the part, filmed the TV show, 13 episodes, one of the greatest adventures of my life. But while we were doing the TV show, these two little shits, myself and my co-host, these little upstarts, really got it. Like for us, it was like the biggest deal of our lives. This was our breakthrough moment. And we just didn't feel like the camera guys were like feeling that energy too, you know? Like they were like, you know, taking their statutory Italian long lunches, and I can't begrudge them because they were just like doing their day-to-day job. But we were like, "But what do you mean you don't want to get your camera up into the bell tower and get this shot from 5 different angles? Like, what's up with that?" And so these two upstarts decide that they need to take matters into their own hands and learn how to film and edit at a really professional level. So when we finished the show, that's exactly what we did. And my God, we just threw ourselves into filming and editing. And again, there is this amazing video. I implore anybody, particularly creatives, to watch it. It's called The Creativity Gap by Ira Glass. And the premise of the video is that when you start any kind of creative endeavor, when you start it, your taste is incredible. But your execution, it's not so great. And that is the point at which people often become so disappointed in themselves that they just give up. And so the video explains about how you get over the creativity gap. And one of the ways is by just setting yourself a gnarly amount of work and just grinding through it relentlessly until one day you just pop out on the other side and you're actually producing stuff that you're really proud of. And that's what we did. Like, we just really went for it, doing a lot of food content. We actually ended up shooting on a really, really basic Canon camera, like an SLR. We ended up one camera on a rickety tripod. We ended up shooting an entire 20 episode TV show in my basement apartment in East London. And we sold it to a prime time network in Canada that actually aired it. And
it's amazing.
And the thing was, like, yeah, we just went through that really hard period of grinding and came out on the other side. And I'm so glad that I did, because it just gave me the ability to create content, which is really beautiful. But the irony of it is, and I've been thinking about this in the last few days, I don't really do much content creation at the moment. I'm not posting those kinds of videos. And the truth is, I just feel like really over it. I'm really over creating content whose sole purpose is to be super abbreviated and just grab someone's attention. I don't want to give people a sugar hit. I want to give people a fucking big ass bowl of spaghetti bolognese that they can just like wrap around their fork and just like, you know, that feeling when you get spaghetti in your mouth and you're just like, it's just so satisfying. You're just like chomping down on it. That's the kind of content I want to create. And that's why I started a newsletter instead, which people can, you know, get onto just by going to autonomyfoods.com. I think there's a pop-up and it gets you onto the newsletter. And I started creating this long form written content around the mission of autonomy. Like, autonomy, why is it called autonomy? Because it's my most important personal value. It's what I want for everyone else too, which is the ability to have power in your life to make decisions for yourself over what you're eating or where you're going or how you're treating your body, just to understand that you are the most powerful being. Like, we are the zenith of human evolution, and we didn't need to have Wi-Fi and goose down jackets to get here. Like, it's so innate in us. If we can only just unlock these basic tools that cost no money to empower ourselves. And it might be breath work, it might be cold exposure, it might be meditation or whatever it might be. But I want to break it down in a way that doesn't feel like woo-woo or somehow elitist. I want people to feel like, oh yeah, it's just my mate Patrick hanging out with me, telling me how to do it, which is exactly the way that I crafted the way that we wrote the recipes and the tone of voice for HelloFresh. Just a person hanging out with you, just like, let's just give this a roll. Like, let's just give it a try. And so I
just
started
quickly,
doing this
I want to say your mission for autonomy, like what's behind it, got me so pumped. I'm ready to run through like a brick wall right now. That's amazing.
I just, you know, I feel like it's just something that resonates with people. It's funny that we hear the word autonomy so much coming into into the lexicon these days. I believe it's because people are really hankering after it, and they realize that their own sovereignty is, frankly, there's few things more important than that.
This is also why you live in America now, because you're a man of freedom. That's one of your key values, 100% American freedom.
America. And yeah, so I started doing this long form content, and it was funny because I flipped over my newsletter from having like graphics of autonomy, our product in it, and I just went purely text-based, no imagery, long-form text. And I sent the first one out, and a friend of mine wrote back to me, and he said, very blunt, just said, not sexy enough, needs header images, where's the CTA? No, in fact, the first thing he wrote back to me was, did you just send me this as a test email? And I wrote back to him. I said, I'm mildly insulted that you thought I accidentally sent this to you. What are you driving at here? And that's when he said, not sexy enough, needs some sexy header images and a CTA. And I wrote back to him. I said, this is actually very, very deliberate. Like, I don't want all that stuff because I actually want to provide value to people, and I want to provide. And some people are going to find this too long, and they're gonna unsubscribe, and they're not my customer anyway. They're not my people. They're not my tribe. The people that read it are my tribe, and that might be a smaller number, but by God, will they be passionate about it? And the numbers don't lie. Like the open rates on the emails, like 65%, going up to 70% sometimes. And the response rate is bonkers. I mean, people are writing to me and they're telling me the most intimate details of the challenging things that they're going through in their lives right now. And I'm having conversations with them. And like sometimes, like I'm getting tears in my eyes. I'm getting tears in my eyes because they're sharing their story and they're being so vulnerable. And I'm like, what a fucking privilege that is that you feel connected to me enough. And just to know that like, yeah, like you can have that relationship with a customer and like that's the way it should be. And I just don't get that sense of satisfaction through doing some flashy Instagram video. At some point, hopefully I'll find the right person and I can have someone kind of cover off that element for me too. But for now, like content for me is about actually connecting with people. It's about the 1,000 true fans kind of theory.
Incredible. Well, we only have a few more minutes with you, so I want to hit a few things quickly. One is, I know you're a man of many, well, maybe not many, but at least some very potent personal mantras. Like, hey, we have beliefs. Our beliefs drives our thoughts and our feelings and our words and our actions, right? But it starts with like what's underneath. And I know you to be someone who really kind of goes into his own code and rewrites it, and is always listening for or sort of integrating powerful mantras. Do you have a favorite or a present personal mantra these days that you're working with that's supporting you?
I think that, there were two things that my granddad said to me when I was a kid. He's still alive. He's 96 and he's going strong. And they've stayed with me my whole life. The first is, if a job's worth doing, it's worth doing well. And I really do apply that to everything that I do. If I'm going to do it, I'm going to give it my all. That's just the way that's going to work. And another couple, if you don't ask, you don't get. Mm-hmm. And the follow-up to that, they can only say no. Mm. And so, I've made a habit in my life. I would say that I'm actually... I used to think I was really, really extroverted in my 20s and 30s. And now, as I've got a little older, I realized that I was just mostly drunk. And like, and and that was what was making me like the life and soul of the party. I am actually very, very. I think I'm pretty introverted. Like I'm a pretty shy person at heart. But yeah, like I'll still lean into that phrase, which is that ultimately the only consequence of asking for what you want is either that you're going to get it, or that they say no. And extrapolating that out, even if they say no, that's only the beginning of the conversation. Like really, like when someone says no to me, I'm like, oh, okay. So, and like the conversation continues. It never ends at no. And so those mantras have been really, really helpful to me. I think it's so important to have that kind of hard wiring in your system. And I'm really thinking about this with our son now. Is like, what are those mantras that we give to him that will stay with him for the rest of his life? A good friend of mine, he was talking about how he has these mottos that are family mottos. And so taking one of them and using it with my own name, it's like, Drake's never quit. Things like that. Like Drake's never X, or Drake's always X. Always show up for their friends. Drake's always show up for their friends. Drake's will never like leave anybody, like in a position that like where they're not helping them or whatever it might be. But I think things like that actually they're really, really helpful, and they do stick. They've stuck with me since I was a kid.
Yeah, the one that Patrick taught me, I think I got it from someone else, one of our other friends, but is better and better forever and ever.
Oh, that was an Andrew Hornism.
Oh, Andrew Horn, the legend.
Yeah,
Andrew
better
Horn.
and better forever and ever. I said to Andrew once, I was having this moment where I was so happy, and it was the first time I'd ever met Andrew, and I said, "Do you ever feel like?" And I'm sure everyone can relate to this. Do you ever feel these moments where everything's just going so well that you're waiting for the other shoe to drop, like something could go wrong? And he said, yeah. And when I have those moments, I think to myself, better and better forever and ever. There is no upper limiting on your ability to be happy.
Well, I think that's a perfect place to leave it. Can you tell us where to find Autonomy? Tell us where we can find it, what we should know about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think you kind of get the sense of the mission right now, which is like it's so much beyond simply like having the most amazing matcha, the most amazing coffee. It's really the wider brand ecosystem is around really empowering people and connecting with people and connecting people together. And to find us, just go to @Autonomy Foods on Instagram, autonomyfoods.com. Just scroll down to the bottom of the page and put your email, and then you can get on that newsletter. And I would love to connect with people there. I really would. I love doing that. It lights me up.
Incredible. And can we find Autonomy in any like locations? Is it being distributed anywhere?
Yeah, we're in a number of different like restaurants and what have you. But the easiest way, honestly, is simply online. Just go to autonomyfoods.com. We'll deliver it right to your door, and you'll never need to have a bad coffee or matcha again.
It's shockingly good. Well, thank you, Patrick Drake, for your time. It was a pleasure.
Such a pleasure.
Thanks for tuning in to the Supergood podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe and even share with a friend. It means the world. Until next time, stay supergood.